So. Okay. Hello. We're going to get started, and then you're live.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're good.
It's been a little bit of an interesting day, I'm sure, for everyone. Very white out and slushy conditions. I know by my house there is like at least 4 cars slid off when I walked out, and I felt bad as I walked by them. But we're here now. For those that don't know me, I'm Jonathan Bruns. I'm the chair of this board running this. And then Janine here is the former chair from last year. We have a couple of other people that you'll see. But we are the Capitol Neighborhood Council. You just like jiggling the background.
Yeah, sorry.
The mission is to enhance the overall quality of life in the Capitol neighborhood. Our long-term vision is a safe, welcoming, and beautiful neighborhood where informed and engaged residents are connected with each other and the place. I have a feeling that's the old one, but we'll make sure that the right one is there that I read off in the bylaws earlier last meeting. We have a couple of updates. Janine, do you have any specific things to add to 2, 3, and 4 here?
So, if you go onto the Utah Film Center website, you will find free film screenings. And every first Saturday is a family film screening that starts at 10 a.m. at the Utah Film Center. But there are other dates where there are free film screenings. And the only thing you need to do, you do need a ticket. The tickets are free, but you just have to reserve the ticket on the Utah Film Center website. And then for the Capitol Hill Community Plan, there are public input events. And the next one is on Monday. Oh, the next one is tomorrow. Can you pull up from the email?
Sorry, Capitol.
The email, if you're on our email list and got the meeting agenda for tonight, you'll also see some news. Our awesome communications chair, Anne, sent out that email with information. So there are just different dates and different locations where you can give your input for what you want to see in our neighborhood for the Capitol Hill 15-year community plan. And then the EHO open house locations and dates, that will also be in the email that you got with the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Sorry, a little slow. I mean, we're training on this one, so we're a little slow.
It's okay. Next on the agenda.
Go. So this is the
update.
Update.
Yeah, so here's the Capitol Hill Community Plan update. And can you go to the open house dates and locations? Maybe just keep scrolling.
Oh, on the. Yeah,
okay.
On the dates, right?
So there's the upcoming and ongoing. So tomorrow, there is one from noon to 2 p.m. at 801 Coffee Roasters, right next door. And then on Monday, the 23rd, at Lee's Marketplace on 4th West from 5 to 6:30 p.m. And then at Handlebar on February 25th from 5 to 6:30. And at Mountain West Cider on March 11th from 5:30 to 7. So those are the different dates that you'll be able to meet folks from the city planning commission and ask questions and give input on some posters that they have.
Okay, up at the top, there's a speaker survey. So you can also go up there and go survey.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so you can do that as well. And then can you go to the EHO one? So at the end of tonight's meeting, the last 30 minutes of the meeting, our transportation, infrastructure and planning committee, they will be doing a presentation on the equal housing opportunities. And there are also these dates for, keep going up there, expanding housing opportunities, open houses at Eastside Community Open House at Highland High School from 6 to 7:30. That's the Eastside Community Open House. The Westside Community Open House will be held on March 12th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Sorensen Community Center. And then at the Central Community Open House on March 31st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in Leonardo. And there will be folks from the city that you can also ask questions and hear a presentation about that equal housing opportunities. Okay. Board business.
Yeah, so we'll know, thank you for that. We'll move on to the financial report from Scott.
Hello, everyone. Now for the exciting part. So we have a newly reconfigured development committee, and we're actively pursuing several grants right now. So we hope to have more news on that. But relative to our budget for the year, I'm just going to give you the numbers that we have in our financial standing in our bank. Our primary savings stands right now at $1,016.17. Our money market account stands at $256.86. And our Capitol business checking is $3,391.53. And we hope to have some news, more financial news as things develop in the future. And I'll have a slide at the next one. And I know a lot of people couldn't make it because of the snow, but we'll have more news next month, I think. So thanks.
Awesome, thank you. We'll now have our business of the month, Tria Fitness. Can I say it? Yes, please. That way, it's kind of uncomfortable for everyone here, but.
Yeah, you can all hear me.
Zoom.
Wonderful. My name is Becca Carlson, and I'm the co-owner of Tria Fitness. And what brings me to your doorstep this evening is I, for several years, was the chair of Central City's Neighborhood Council. And so with my role there, I learned how powerful and important the community was and how many people come here and are highly invested in being in the neighborhood. And we're about to open a new business here. My business was in Central City, and I'll be moving it here, so I'll have two businesses, but not here to talk about that. But Tria Fitness is going to be a new fitness studio coming to just down the street from here. So the address is 567 West, 300 North. And so I think it's in the greater Capitol Hill community. And about 10 years ago, I met my co-founder, Becky, who's in the back of the room here, at a boxing gym. And we became fast friends, and we started traveling together and doing fitness classes as we went along. And through multiple conversations, we would talk about what we liked at different studios and what we didn't like. And then it started getting to be more of a serious conversation of, hey, maybe we should do this, and maybe we should try to open a gym. And then that evolved into what we're about to do now. We have the rendering of the studio here, but we're also inviting you guys to come out and take a look. We'll have some open houses. The thing that's different about our gym is when we've gone to boutique studios, we've noticed that people do things well in those spaces, but they're oftentimes like one modality. And so we wanted to bring multi-modalities to a fitness space. So what we have chosen is what we like to do, which is cardio boxing, cycle, which is like a rhythm spin, and yoga. And so those are the three modalities that we'll focus on now. And we have locked in our trainers. We're super excited about them. Lots of experience to the group. That piece is, that's all I'll have to say about that. If you want to talk about it after, happy to do so. A little bit about the building itself is it used to be an old boys and girls club, so we've renovated the interior altogether. After that, a Magnum e-bike company purchased it and used it as a warehouse. So we've done the entirety of renovations. And a thing that's a little bit different about us too, speaking to the community part, is when Becky and I would go out and we go to these fitness studios together, we'd always get a beverage like before or after. And so what we thought was important about the community is being able to meet. So you can invite a friend, you can bring someone to the group or meet friends at the studio, and there will be a cafe space within it too. So those are some elements that are there. If you're interested in checking us out, which you're more than welcome to do, we'll have a promotion through March for Capitol Hill people. Just say you're affiliated and we'll give you a discount associated with it. But we'd love for you to come and take a tour and learn a little bit about it, and we're happy to be in the community.
Thank you so much. I haven't done spin and I haven't done boxing, but I do practice yoga a little bit, and I highly recommend it. I think due to what we have around, we'll probably hear from the fire department next. That's okay.
Good evening. Well, sounds a lot louder when you're talking to it. Well, our crew from Station 2 was here a little bit ago, but then they just got kicked out on a occupant stuck in an elevator. So they're still working through that. My name is Jared Schreiner. I'm the operations battalion chief. I cover the west half of the city. I take care of the manage and oversee the operations of our crews on the west half of the city, including your area. I feel, like a great opportunity to be here. We try to get to these as much as we can. It's great for us to come and to kind of be amongst you here in the community. So thanks for the opportunity and plugging us into the agenda. Just a couple things I want to mention. Today was pretty crazy with the weather that came in, with some vengeance. We just kind of give you an idea of what we faced this afternoon. Our crews responded to about 26 different traffic accidents on the freeways and surface streets. So it's like we haven't had snow in months and we've got to drive. So, but anyways, the airport was, I think they shut the runways down for just a short period of time. But yeah, this snowstorm is what we need, but it definitely created some issues. I'm not sure how many of you last week are familiar with or saw the unfortunate apartment fire over at the Canyon Tower condominiums. But I just wanted to kind of talk about that just a little bit, just because it's happening right in the backyard. Unfortunately, last Tuesday, I believe, or last Wednesday, sorry, there was a fire, condominium fire on the 11th floor of that 13-story residential high-rise. But our crews got there quick. I want you guys to know how fortunate you are as a city, in that there's an ordinance in place that we have a minimum of 4-handed staffing on all of our fire apparatus. And we were able to get pretty much almost everyone from all 14 stations to that fire in a really quick amount of time, which made all the difference in the world. We contained it to just one unit, prevent awesome. Pretty catastrophic losses. So at any rate, you guys probably saw that. I wanted to see if anyone had any questions about that. But really just wanted to kind of address that so you knew about it. No, it was contained. We were able to get there so quick and get up there with our hose lines, and we contained it to just one unit. So, which was very fortunate. So, it's still under investigation, but we're suspicious of some electrical wiring. So, but they're still working through that. So, we'll be on that. But anyway, February is Heart Awareness Month. And so just a reminder out there for all of you to just be familiar with, what to do in the event of cardiac emergencies. Make sure if you can identify those to immediately call 911. Don't be afraid to do CPR. It's just, most of you know nowadays, we just do compressions. You don't have to worry about the mouth to mouth. We just push hard and fast, and that makes all the difference in the world. Believe it or not, Salt Lake City Fire Department is actually one of the leaders in the nation for cardiac arrest survival statistics. We have one of the highest survivability rates in the nation. It is. That's fantastic. And that's a huge credit not only to our personnel, our paramedics, and our EMTs, but to our medical director, Scott Junquist. He's done a fantastic job for over a decade for our department. So, at any rate, one last little plug I want to throw out there, and then I'll open it up to some questions. If you haven't already, please go to our website, slcfire.com, and you can sign up to receive our monthly newsletter. And it'll come to you every month via email, and you'll be able to get all the information about the fire department, our different run numbers, the kind of the talking point of the month. And that message comes from Chief Lee, our fire chief. There's a lot of great resources on that website. If you want to sign up to have us come out and do a defensible space assessment for your home and property, we're offering those to everyone in the public. We're happy to come out and just take a look at your property and give you some ideas of how you can kind of harden your homes and your property to protect against wildland urban interface. So a lot of great resources on that. I highly encourage you to visit the website and sign up for that newsletter. At this point, I'll just open up to any questions if you have any for me or for about the fire department. Seeing none. Well,
I
yeah.
do have
Yeah.
one.
Great.
I think this is sort of a question, I guess, but my neighbor was starting the home birth. Didn't go well. They called, and within about 4 or 5 minutes, maybe 6, all the vehicles that came. There were about 9 different vehicles. I counted. You always, I'm glad you were always there, of course, but that was just.
It seems like a lot. Yeah, but we like to send plenty of resources to those high acuity calls. So typically what happens is we send the closest unit or the closest engine or truck. Right, or if they're on another call, we get one down by the Fair Parks or downtown. So we send the closest unit. And that a lot of times might be just what we call a basic life support unit, and that's just our EMTs. And with that, we'll always send on those high acuity calls what we call an ALS or advanced life support unit, which contains our paramedics. And so we want to get resources there as quick as possible, so that's why we send the closest, and then we send the paramedics in after. So now we've got 8 people, and we've got the ambulance, which is another 2. So we're throwing 10 personnel at your emergencies because we believe that's important. So.
I was kind of surprised about it, but it's for cases like that, it's kind of what you do to make sure what you need is right there.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to get as many resources there as early as we can to make the difference. So, here's the crew from Station 2. This is your truck crew. They drive around in that big ladder truck. And, these guys were some of the heroes that residential high-rise fire last week. So they were on that fire and make a big difference. So, Colton, do you want to come up and make sure I didn't miss anything? And then we'll get out of their hair. So we talked a little bit about the cardiac arrest, the Heart Awareness Month. If there's anything else you want to add, here's your chance to shine. Okay. Colton is one of our brand new firefighters. He just came out of recruit school about 2 months ago. He's doing a really good job, but this is a good opportunity for him to get out and get up in front of you and share some great stuff.
Okay, my name's Colton Hulse. Like Chief Shiner said, I've been part of the fire department here for about 2.5 months now, fresh out of the academy. It sounds like you guys talked a little bit about February and how that's the American Heart Association. One of the topics that we want to talk about is some things you can do if you see somebody collapse and fall down. First thing you're going to want to do is immediately call 911, get that started. And then second thing you want to do is check for a pulse and confirm that they do not have a pulse. And you're going to want to start hands-on only CPR. And then you're going to want to do hands-on only CPR as quick as you can. And then the third step is to get an AED that you can find is close by. And then you turn the AED on and it'll walk you through all the prompts on how to use the AED and all that kind of good stuff. If you want any more information, we do have a CPR push to survive classes regularly. We have that on our website, slc.gov/givepulse. I'd recommend checking it out if you're interested in learning how to do CPR or use an AED or any basic life-saving measures. And then we also have a new app that the community can use for non-emergent calls. It's called My SLC app. And if you had anything that was non-emergent, you can use the fire department's request upon. You just go on that app, submit a request, and we will be there. We can't help you guys. Next thing up, we want to talk a little bit about call volume that we had in Station 2's area. So as of January, Station 2 had 4,362 calls. That is one of the busiest, if not the busiest fire station in the state of Utah. We do have 3 apparatuses at Station 2. We have our medic engine, we have our ladder truck, and we do have our medic squad. So we split the 3. We split call volumes amongst the 3, depending on what the call severity is. If it's an ALS, advanced life safety, we're going to want to send our medics there, and that's where we send our squad or our engine, or even if it's something not as high acuity, we would send our squad, which is an SUV. We have those in service to take wear and tear off of our heavy apparatuses. We've actually seen a huge impact on how much longer and how faster our heavy apparatus have been lasting, taking all that big toll off of it with those medic squads. So that's something that's really cool. And then to end it, we wanted to announce that we are hiring for Class 58 for this August. I'm not sure how many we're hiring, but if you are interested or you know anybody that is interested in joining the fire department, my opinion, one of the best fire departments in the country. I would strongly recommend you apply. You can apply through the city website, slc.gov, follow the prompts there. Yeah, do you guys have any questions?
What is the AED?
AED is automatic external defibrillator, and it's do we have them in this room? There is one downstairs, okay. If you can locate one downstairs, so basically what it does is it's these patches that you put on. There's pictures of where you can locate them on the patient's body. It's usually on the chest and on the side torso. And you turn it on and it follows prompts as to how to do CPR, how to.
They both started at 0. And we had to.
Okay. And it tells you, the main thing is it will shock, if the AED reads a shockable rhythm within a patient with cardiac arrest, it'll tell you when to shock the patient, and it will deliver that shock to help restart the heart. Any questions?
Out of those 4,000 calls, what is the #1 driver for those calls?
Oh, there's an name right there.
Perfect example.
So serving the Marmalade district and downtown district, we do get a lot of unknown chief complaints. A lot of people driving by, seeing something that they may think may need medical attention. So we do get a lot of those. We do have a lot of freeway in our district, so we're able to grow on the freeway quite a bit. And then being one of 3 trucks in the city, we do have a larger district, so our truck will go downtown, the avenues, over to Rose Park, and we'll serve those areas too. But we do see a lot of diverse calls, and that's the beauty of the job. It's a good time.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. You guys do a fabulous job. I think Salt Lake is one of the greatest police departments and fire departments ever. I'm just really pleased with what I've seen and experienced. So thanks to all of you guys. Welcome. It was great.
It'll be over here.
Thank you, fire department. That was awesome. Raise of hands, who does know how to perform CPR?
Hands only.
Nice. It is a lot easier now that the official recommendation is hands only. Takes the pressure off considerably. I think we're not necessarily going to go in the order of this, but I think Ashley, unless we have another person that wants to go before.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations on making it here in the snowy weather. I don't know if you walked or drove, but it was kind of a novel experience after a spring-like winter. For people I've never met, my name's Ashley Anderson. I represent you on the Salt Lake City School District's Board of Education. So I come to council, as many people know, to give updates on what's happening in our public school system, but specifically the schools in the Capitol Hill boundary, which are Washington Elementary, just up the street, and West High just down the street. I don't have any new updates about West High other than the projects have gone out to bid. And so when I have more information, I'll bring it to you. If you're seeing impacts from construction, a reminder that the website for the school district, which is slcschools.org, has a bond construction landing page with a contact button. And sometimes if you go through that button, instead of emailing me, it cuts out the middleman and you get the immediate answer that you want from the auxiliary services team who oversees that construction. Other than construction at West High, there's always achievements happening there. Both Washington Elementary and West High have a lot of students advancing to the regional science fair at the University of Utah. West High's theater has a play Clue happening this weekend if you're looking for something to do, but not traveling too far with the snow. And there's also a lot of sports success. Boys basketball made the playoffs. Girls basketball again made the playoffs. They have the top scoring 5A girls basketball scorer. And also swim has a top 10 200 free swimmer. So there's always things that our students are doing that are amazing. If you want to be involved as a community member, one of the best things you can do is consider volunteering for our schools, doing things like chaperoning field trips, helping out, and just staying aware of what's happening in public education. The last time I gave an update, I let you know that the legislature was poised to cut some funding from the school district. And our local district in the draft of the budget would lose, I think, approximately $1 million in a combination of one-time and ongoing fundings. That's really a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of money we're losing as policies for tax increment financing grows. So I've talked about that a few times in these meetings where in tax increment financing, we levy property tax. Does anyone here own a home and they get a homeowner's bill? If you're a renter, you may see your rent increase when the property owner gets their homeowner's bill. That levy will tell you how much goes to the public school district. What it doesn't tell you is how much is diverted to developers through interlocal agreements on which school boards don't have the say of whether or not we participate. We just have a small share of the votes. This year, we lost $36 million to tax increment financing that you'll see on your homeowner's bill, but actually never reaches the public school system. So when we're looking at cuts of 1 million and we're looking at other cuts that we see that kind of happen passively, we're in a position where at the federal, state, and local level, the amount of funding we have is reduced, and we're doing the best we can to serve the students who are here. And of course, I always, appreciate being able to share information about some of the challenges we face. So as you hear about bills in the legislature or decisions made for our school district, you're aware of some of the, pressures we have in some tough times. So I'm happy to share the celebrations of students, some details on our financing, and again, that reminder that you can have feedback about West High construction if it's impacting the neighborhood. Are there any questions about what's going on in the school district? Yeah, Glenn.
You mentioned that you, being the Salt Lake School District, lost 36 million.
Yep, that's right. Yes.
And how did that happen again?
So there's a combination of ways that it happens. But under new laws, like you may have seen in the newspaper, the Convention Center Reinvestment Zone, for example, different zones were created. And in the past, when those zones were created, school boards got to vote on whether to participate. The idea of participating is that when areas like this are redeveloped, more kids might move into the neighborhood and the school district would see the tax base grow and eventually we'd get these benefits. One of the problems with those agreements is we haven't seen the number of kids growing. And so the return on investment of a higher tax base also can sometimes push kids out of our school district who would otherwise attend. And so sometimes those agreements over time, we had a decision in making. Now things like the county convention center zone, we have 2 votes on a committee of 15 different people who vote as representatives of different taxing entities. So the city, the library, the mosquito abatement district, all people who levy your property tax. And when we say no, the majority of people still say yes. And so our property tax increment or growth is diverted to develop those areas instead of going to kids. The difference would be If you own your home, you don't know how much of that levy goes to the development and how much gets to Washington Elementary. So that's something that we're seeking is support from different legislators for how we can make that more transparent for taxpayers like you.
That's not true of the recent bond, right? The bond
No.
is totally earmarked for those high schools.
Correct. The bond is something that the school board decided to put on the ballot. The voters made the decision after we went through the ballot process. So the bond will pay for West High School, Highland High School, sustainability projects, and the field house at East High School. Nothing more, nothing less. Doesn't go anywhere far away. But one of the reasons that bond and our other capital needs are so big is as we lose the rest of that increment, we can't save over time for capital needs like high schools, which take a long time to save for. So we're very appreciative of support for the bond. Yeah. No, go ahead.
What's the percentage of total budget of that 36 million? 10%, 5%?
That's a great question. So our budget right now is approximately $350 million. So it's about 10% equivalent of our total budget that is diverted. So we would have 10% budget increase if we were able to retain all of those funds. And there's many other people working in the city and the county who also have budget struggles and they would like to see that money used for their needs. And it's just a question of, balancing that and making sure that people in the community understand where their hard-earned tax dollars go. Any other questions about public school? Yeah.
Cell phone bans, are they in place for high schools?
Cell phone bans are in place to the extent that it's bell to bell. So right now, our policy, which is a little bit different than what the governor and the legislature may be proposing, I'm not following that as closely, is a ban period. Like you can't have it at lunch, you can't have it between periods. At our schools, you cannot have them out in class, but you can have them at other times. A lot of teachers use like a box system or a check-in system. How that's working is kind of up for debate. I hear different things from adults and different things from kids, but it is in effect. And if there's something you think about it, you can feel free to pass that along. And if there's no other questions, I don't know. I see that you have another person coming, so maybe that will be your next person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, Janine?
Sorry, I forgot to put this announcement at the beginning, but our local one of our local junior highs, Bryant Slicksey Middle School, which is in the Greater Avenues area. But they have a need for more volunteers to be judges for their history fair, which is happening on February 26th, so next week. And they need volunteers. They will give you the instructions of how you'll be judging student history projects in 2-hour blocks of time. So starting at 8:40 in the morning and then going until 2:20. They're 4 2-hour shifts. If any of you that are here tonight have an interest in that or availability, if you can just come find me after the meeting and I'll get your contact information and pass it along to the teacher who will reach out to you.
All right, Chris Warden.
Hey, everybody. So what the council is working on right now, we had our first of the year retreat, elect a new leadership for the year, talk about our goals for the year. But we've really been focusing a lot on the legislative session. There's been a lot of really scary bills that we've been able to avoid or to kill, so that's a really good thing. And the ones that have been the highest profile in the news are about our ability to continue to control our roads. We've worked a lot with the sponsor of this particular bill. So even though the area that UDOT is going to be looking at for changes to any roads that the city will have to work with UDOT on, that area is bigger, but the within that area, the road classifications, so there are 4 tiers. And the ones that UDOT is going to be looking at are going to be a shorter list. And the best news is that at the beginning of this process, we were looking at potentially having to take out and undo some of the traffic calming that we've done around the city. That's been taken out, so we're going to be able to keep all of the traffic calming that we've had. We'll just kind of work more closely with UDOT on those higher tier roads going forward. Let's see, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the proposed Temple Square closure, road closures. So you may have heard that as part of the Temple Square reopening, that the LDS Church is asking to close the North Temple block between Main Street and West Temple, and the West Temple block between North and South Temple for 6 months. And then they would also be closing the north lane of the northernmost lane of South Temple, which has already kind of been closed for the construction. So you'll still be able to go both ways in South Temple. It's just the westbound lane will be only 1 lane instead of 2. So I got a lot of people reaching out about this, especially from our neighborhood. And in terms of road closures, it's anyone can apply, any business, any individual, anyone, any entity can apply to close a road. And if you meet the criteria and you're willing to pay the city, which the LDS Church is doing, we basically have to grant the permit. Unfortunately, this is going to coincide with not only all the construction that we've had, but is going to coincide with rebuilding of West High, and it's going to overlap with some of the rebuilding of the Delta Center / the new Sports Entertainment Convention and Culture District. And so I'm worried about that. But fortunately, we met with the government and community representatives from the church. They're very willing to do everything that we can to try to make this work. Of course, I'm worried about, all of the Avenues kids that are going to try to be getting to West High every morning. I'm worried about how all of us are going to get to work and to the grocery store and to anything else that we need to get to that is anywhere south of this neighborhood. But on the other hand, it is a public safety risk. They're estimating 22,000 people coming through Temple Square every day. And at the peak times, it will be 5,000 people per hour. And there really isn't a way to have that many people coming through a single block anywhere in this city for that amount of time that wouldn't create a major public safety risk if we didn't close the street. So that's kind of why we have to do this, because a lot of people are like, just tell them no and tell them to figure something else out. That's not really a realistic option here, especially because our first duty is to make sure that everybody's safe, and that includes all the many visitors that are going to be coming. So we are working through how we're going to route individuals going both ways, and then a big concern of mine also is parking. Making sure that we may have to create some kind of residential parking program for that time period where everybody gets a pass, and you have unlimited parking on the street versus individuals that are coming who are visiting. But yeah, it's huge. It's a huge effort. But what I'll say is, like, the church fully understands how big of an ask this is and how much of an inconvenience this is on top of everything else that's going on. So I think that they are very interested in making this work, and they're going to be paying upwards of $2.5 million in fees to make it work. So
To the city.
to the city. Yeah. So that's part of the road closure is you have to pay for all the mitigation to deal with the road closure and that's the price tag for a closure this big. Do you have any questions that I can, sorry, last thing is, I know you're gonna have a lot of questions. We're still kind of working this out. I asked a lot of questions in the briefing. They basically had to cut my mic, but in a polite way. We've got some time to figure this out. But I'd love to hear your questions. I'll answer as many as I can. A lot of the specifics we don't know yet, and we're still working on, but I would love to hear your thoughts. I think you were first. The dates. What are the dates? It's gonna be, I want to say like March 2027 until October 2027, but we don't know the exact dates yet. Ashley?
Yeah, so in my school board side, I share correspondence, obviously with our council member and say, hey, I'm here at West. They're worried about this bus and the avenues, and we talk about that. But I also live in this neighborhood. So if I put on my resident hat, my question is not only about the road closure, it's about parking on my street. So when it's conference, I can't park on my street and I'm very grumpy about it. But I say to myself, it's only 2 days, I'm going to survive. But if it was many months for a person like me who only has street parking, is the council looking at some kind of remediation for residents?
Yes, definitely. So that was one of my exact questions. Because I know, I also live in this neighborhood. I live quite a few more streets north of our school board rep, and the conference parking gets to my house. So I know that it's getting to everybody else south of me. That I don't know if it's going to be a temporary resident only parking program or what, but absolutely we're going to have to work on that. Okay, no problem.
Can you remind us of the timeline for public comment on this proposal?
Yes, so there will be, so right now it's only come to the council in a work session. Things don't come up for like official public comment until it's put on the formal agenda, and they're gonna come back again in front of the work session to give us more details before we'll put it on the formal. I don't know exactly when that's gonna be, but I will make sure to tell this group because I'm sure you'll want to come. But you could start sending me things now that you want me to look at, questions you want me to answer. I am going to be working a lot with the church representatives on this. The other good thing is that, or potential positive, the church's main person in charge of this also lives in this neighborhood. So they're going to understand what we're going through. Now they, lucky for them, live within like walking distance of Temple Square. So they might not suffer the parking situation, but they do live here. They understand they're part of this neighborhood. And so I don't have to necessarily give a ton of explanation on some of these things. But I'm going to be working really hard on this. It's going to be a big effort, but we're going to get through it. Okay?
It seems to me that the only way to deal with that parking issue is to enforce or is to put big signs saying residents only, or even requiring, not requiring, yes, requiring, but giving residents passes on the name from their beer. That's all well and good, but unless you enforce it, I don't think it'll make that much. There'll still be a problem.
For sure.
Help, I imagine. Will they pay extra for the enforcement cost, or that come out of the 2-point-something million that they're paying these anyways?
I think that is up for negotiation.
You should think about that, because that's the tens of thousands of dollars just to do enforcement.
Well, that's enforcement. Like I think about general conference time, there are lots of abusers. I live on a corner here just on Center Street, and people are parking on the wrong sides of the known parking sites, very close to the corners. I think by ticketing alone, you would make way more money if you just had people out there. But I think on Saturdays, they don't do it because it's not work day, right?
We do now. We do ticket Saturdays, but we don't, not the same hours, but we might need to make exceptions.
So you might have to charge the church, but I think even if you just did work, like you'd be breaking it. Breaking it in, right? You give $60 or 200, I mean, whatever it is.
These are one-time visitors.
I know, but I'm just saying, you could easily break in $1,000 an hour if you're doing your job. As many of people who are not parking, right?
How about a sign? You will be ticketed.
Well, if you do that, the first 2 weeks, Brits will get around. They'll get around and you can put up a news story. I'm serious. It's a major revenue opportunity for the city if they actually do their job.
Look, all of that is up for discussion. I'm like, slap on an orange vest for me. I will go issue tickets.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I've already offered that. They won't let me do that.
You should. For 6
We will.
months, you should like triple
We
the
will.
inventory or hire it out.
We will. And even if they won't give me the vest, I'll be on top of it. So,
Thanks.
yes. That.
Sounds like kind of like done deal. So the public comment is really to communicate specific issues, like it's not really open, it's not.
Yeah, I think when you look at the law the way that it is and kind of what the public safety risk is, there isn't a realistic way to just say no. So people are of course welcome to say I don't want this. And I think that is still a valid thing for people to express, whether or not the city has to grant it or not. I think it's worth stating that position if that's how you feel. But I think as long as you're following that up with like, here's how it's going to impact me, that's where I think is going to be more where we can try to address how to make this work. So yeah, so I don't want to tell anybody what to say. I think everybody's free to say, say no, but it's not a situation that's that simple. So.
Can influence how it all rolls out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm trying to bring this to you very early. And would love to get some involvement of the transportation committee on the board. So yeah, so it's been good. And like I said, this first briefing we had, I saw the church representatives taking like 6 pages of notes. So yeah, we're gonna keep at it. Please continue to email me about it, and I'll continue to write updates as that each month at these meetings. Okay?
Awesome.
Thanks.
We are lucky to have such a champion who is influenced by it as much as Christus. I think we'll go with Grow the Flow next. Awesome. I'm gonna hand this to you and then we're gonna pull it.
Sure. And I'm gonna bring up some slides just so we have pretty visuals. I'm gonna throw a bunch of information at you. My name is Sylvia Smith. I'm with Grow the Flow. Have people heard of Grow the Flow here before? Slow the Flow. This is great. Slow the Flow and Grow the Flow are both water conservation. Slow the Flow is obviously trying to conserve water generally. Grow the Flow is specifically trying to grow the amount of water that is going towards Great Salt Lake. So Grow the Flow is dedicated towards Great Salt Lake. We're working on becoming the first community that can save a saline lake in the world. This is a worldwide issue. The Great Salt Lake is not the only lake that is suffering, but we have a very strong community that cares deeply about the lake, and we feel very optimistic about our ability to rescue our lake and our communities that rely on it. So, Grow the Flow is one of multiple organizations and nonprofits that are working on this. So I'm just gonna go over our approach quickly, compared to other organizations you might be familiar with. But we do focus on improving policy. So we have a lot of effort with the legislative session that's been going on, and trying to build lasting relationships with legislators so that we can actually collaborate with all the interested parties that policy would affect. We're trying to empower the public. This is a big issue, I think, especially with like millennials and younger generations feeling hope for the future when we're facing so many difficult climate issues, social issues, being able to tell people that they are empowered and give them actionable things that we can see real results come from is very important. We're working to promote innovating solutions that this involves like collaborating with other organizations in our state as well as communities worldwide that are facing saline lake declination and bringing water back to the lake through many different tools. And then growing support. This is a long haul effort that we want obviously as quick of a response as we possibly can get now, but ultimately to sustain the lake for the rest of forever. And that is going to require support from people all across the board, farmers, ranchers, city people like you and me. If you go to Grow the Flow's website, you will see a red banner on the top with a lake tracker. And this is a massive resource I use all the time to get like up to the date lake information about what's going on. So the next couple of slides will just show you how you can learn what the current status of the lake is. There's an elevation tracker, and you might have seen a graph like this in the Salt Lake Tribune before. I think this one gets promoted pretty frequently. It just shows the decline of the lake over time and how we're in an unsafe space, even now after 2023 snow season. This is our current snow season, our current snow tracker. I pulled this morning, so you can see that nice little lift up that we've had from this week so far, but we definitely were flatlining for like all of February, January until then. And you can see that we're broken new record lows this year, so that's a big concern. This is also our basin map. Most of Utah's is like less than 60% normal. We broke out of drought in 2024, and now we're right back in. So, for our legislative focus, I'm pretty sure all of the Capitol Hill area is in Senate District 8. We're right on the border, the majority. We have some Gen Plum people for Senate District 9.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I live in the Avenues and I'm with Gen Plum and Gen Post, so I got the Gen duo. Our 2026 session, we have about 2 weeks left. And these are your representatives with a few exceptions. So the most important thing we can do right now is reaching out to these legislators because the collective impact of our water policy is very outsized. So if you're looking for something to do as an individual, getting involved with the legislative session and building these bridges is the most important right now. Grow the Flow has 3 priority areas for legislation. Some bills we do have that are actually going to be working towards these goals, and some things will be longer term, working with individual legislators to prepare legislation for future sessions that would accomplish these goals. So, one is water market reform to streamline leasing water rights to go into the lake, pulling out of conserved water that we're going to be working with cities and agriculture. 2 is municipal regulation and turf removal focused on new development as well as incentivizing current development to make a change. And then a robust and sustained funding to support the water leasing, the turf removal, infrastructure changes, invasive species mitigation, and all of the monitoring. We have gotten a lot of funding in the past and have kind of been stalling on funding, so we're trying to keep that energy up to continue funding the efforts. We have lobby days, and this is in partnership with many other organizations. Every single Monday morning, you guys are lucky that you live really close to the Capitol, so it's a little bit easier to show up and be heard. But what you can expect, we'll start the morning with a brief lobbying training inside the Capitol building, an overview of the high priority bills that are going to be on the docket that week and that day specifically for the lobbying. I'll give you a handout with speaking points. We'll break up into groups. You can make plans. You can talk about who you want to specifically make sure you meet with. And then you'll have opportunities to speak one-on-one with legislators and go through these priorities. And then afterwards, following up with an email. A lot of people have been able to take these lobby days as kind of a starting point to have more in-depth conversations outside of the session with their legislators that have been really rewarding and really fruitful. So I'm gonna go over 3 bills. There are a lot of water bills, but here's one of our most high priority bills to support. It is a dedicated water amendment bill that Jill Colford is running. And what this does is it clarifies and strengthens dedicated water process, which is taking a water rate that currently is being used one way or another and trying to give it to the Great Salt Lake for another beneficial use. So this creates a new type of application that kind of streamlines all of the difficult legal jargon, water right application. There's a really long process that goes to change a water right, and it's really difficult and takes forever. So this will create a new type of application that really streamlines that, which is why we're very supportive of this bill to try and get that response to have an immediate impact on the lake. It's more flexible and helps people see more ways to voluntarily give water to the lake. Yeah.
Sounds great. Just a quick question. How much support in the legislature is there to make the change you're talking about?
This bill, yeah, that's a great question. This bill actually has a lot of support. It's a House bill that has already passed the House and is in the Senate Rules Committee. So
looks like it's going to pass.
We're optimistic about this one. One of the benefits that we have is because of the situation that the lake is in right now, there's a pretty good level of support from both parties up on the bill. Partially because it's so important all across Utah. Partially because very few water bills ran last year, so people aren't like exhausted or have a bad taste in their mouth. So a lot of legislators have a lot more optimism or like fresh energy towards these bills. So we have been seeing a lot more success with bills overall from both sides. Joe Colford is a Republican who's been running multiple water bills. So yeah. The second high priority bill that we support, HB 155, is a water rates amendment that creates tiered pricing for water users, which is also called block rates. So it awards low water users a break on their water rates and then penalizes high water users by charging them higher amounts per gallon once they've used more than most water users would. So this is a big shift. One of the things we learned just this year from the Great Salt Lake Strike team is that municipal water use is actually coming from more diverted water use and consumptive use than we originally thought. It accounts for about a quarter of the diverted water in the basin. So cutting back on our urban outdoor water usage is huge. In the city, most of the water that goes down your drain goes flushed down the toilet, whatever else gets cleaned and actually returned into the water system very efficiently. But the water that we are using to water our lawns and outdoor areas is what they call consumptive water use. And over 90% of that just leaves the system. And so that's where a lot of these losses are affecting the lake. And this would be targeting that very specifically. And then we do have a few bad bills that we're opposing that pose a risk to the lake. Many of you have probably heard about HB 60 already. This is a second one that is our high priority to oppose, SB 198. Water project management amendments would create an office of water management within DWR. And would oversee all these funds, but it's a very sweeping change to how we're currently managing things, which is likely to kind of tangle up our ability to work within the system, all of the changes that we're pushing through. We have probably 2 or 3 dozen good water bills that we're working on right now this session, and less than a dozen that are bad. So that's really optimistic. But some of these big changes can really make it difficult for all of the good bills to have the best effect that they can. There's also a concern with this bill and HB 501 combined, that those two bills would empower the Bear River development plan that some of you might have heard of if you've been following the lake. But it's a big development that would divert a lot of water out of the Bear River. And it's been fought against pretty successfully and held, but every year it keeps coming up and there's a big tug of war about whether or not to fund it. So there's a concern that this type of change would make it more easy to fund Bear River development and divert more water out of the lake than we currently are. If you want more information on all of those bills, as well as I mentioned, like dozens of other bills that Grow the Flow is tracking, this QR code is that same link. Grow the Flow has a mid-session where they just like line down, here's the bills, why we like them, why we don't. It's very comprehensive. And it's a great way that you can just go and like call your legislator or email them and say, hey, I noticed that this is on Senate Rules Committee or House floor or whatever, and tell them what you think of it. I should have mentioned on the slides, it showed the state of those three bills, but like SB 198, the bad one that we're opposing, is currently held in committee, which means it's stalled from going forward. We're hoping that it doesn't get resurrected in committee in the next 2 weeks. So phone calls like that to remind them we don't want this to be out of committee type thing. And then we do have 2 remaining lobby days. February 23rd is a student lobby day with a special invitation to college and high school students. So if you have a student in your family or your life, please invite them. This is a really fun way for them to get involved and see the process and feel really empowered about their ability to do something about the problems that they're concerned with. And then the 23rd is also a special focus on environmental goals. This year, our club is focusing really big on this coming Monday. So, Grow the Flow is ultimately actually an action network. So if you want to get involved, this will take you to our page where you can join and get weekly newsletters with updates, events, and actions. It'll show you links to our volunteer opportunities. We keep an events calendar that is not only Grow the Flow's events, but it shows the legislative calendar for our House and Senate Natural Resources Committees, things like that, that makes it really easy to onward face. We also track events for multiple other nonprofits and organizations that are facing the lake with us. So it's a really great one-stop for if you want a linked event. Some of those are very like action oriented, like we're getting together to write our legislators. And some of those are very just fun. We're getting together to learn about the bird species that the lake supports. So there's a little bit of something for everyone there. And then we do have a Salt Lake City chapter specifically that you can get more involved in planning events or running things as a volunteer. That next chapter meeting is actually tomorrow. So if you'd like to show up, we'll be at the Chapman branch. And we're going to be specifically reaching out to representatives to request meetings with them. There will be people from many different legislative districts. So we're hoping to grab as many representatives as possible. And then lastly, this is where you can find our social media to connect with us. We have Grow the Flow's main page on Instagram and then our Salt Lake City chapter specifically. Grow the Flow's main page, if you just want to like keep up on what's going on with the lake, they make really great informative posts. And it's a really great source of information. And then our Salt Lake City chapter is a really good way to keep up on events that are near you specifically. With that, I'll take any questions. Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
A quick question.
Yeah.
I don't have time personally. I support it completely. I feel like the idea of trying to do something, get involved, I just can't do it right now. But if I had maybe an hour the next week or so, what would be the single most helpful thing for someone like me to do? To craft maybe a quick message about my opposition to or support of one bill or another, and send it to all the legislations. I mean, that's one thing I could do, I guess, but I don't have an email address, but I'm not sure exactly. There are several bills that are going on in South Carolina. If I do the ones that are most important, get my support, I would review those and then craft a quick email saying I support this bill. These send it to everybody. Is that done or what?
Yeah, so right now, while we're in session, is a great opportunity for that type of thing, just a 20-minute email to be really impactful. Outside of session, it's a little bit harder for that like really quick phone call to be like, here's this bill and it's good and why not. One thing that if you're looking for just like a little bite-sized action, joining the Action Network and signing up for a weekly newsletter is a really good way because they will give you that, here's like the 15-minute action that you can do this week. And they'll also send out like an urgent action notice whenever we have a bill that's moving through and we have a specific need. So they'll say call to action on HB 60 and they'll tell you what's going on with HB 60, where it's at in the legislative process right now, and then why we're concerned about it or why we support it. So it makes it very easy for you to just copy paste and send it. Yeah, go ahead.
Public Action Network. See it on your website now. Just sign up for that.
Yeah, so you just sign up for your emails. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, I think we are going to hear from Tip next, and I'll have Samuel give an introduction.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samuel Chu, and I am the chair of the Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Committee, also known as TIP committee. And just wanted to introduce myself to all of you so you know who I am and invite you that if you're interested in transportation or infrastructure or planning issues in our community, we are still looking for people to join our committee. As members of our committee, we're interested in these issues, so you can talk to me, or you can reach out via email to tip@caphillslc.org. Also, if you ever have any like transportation to infrastructure planning issues that come to your attention, you can also just email that email and say, hey, like I saw this and I want you to know about it. We'd love to hear from you. I do just want to give another plug for the Capitol Hill Community Plan update. That is, I know we talked about it at the beginning of the meeting, but not everyone is here, and I want to make sure that everyone knows about it. So there is the neighbor community plan, which touches all land use plans in our neighborhood for the next several decades. It is currently being formed, and right now they're kind of in the open, any idea is a good idea period, a brainstorm period of receiving feedback. So I know the website was shown earlier at the beginning of the meeting. I also have a little handout with a QR code. If you just want to come scan it, it'll take you directly to the website if you want to provide any ideas or feedback about planning issues that are important to you in our neighborhood. And then I believe we didn't print any flyers, did we?
We did, but they're with Autumn.
Understood.
Noted.
Okay, all right. Well, we had some flyers to give out, but snow, so we don't have them. But there is there are some landscape plan amendments and buffer chapter amendments that are being considered right now. They pertain to issues like artificial turf, as well as requirements around landscape plans, letters of compliance, some parking lot requirements. Anyway, just kind of a number of landscape things. If you're interested in any of that, feel free to come and talk to me. I've got a little digital flyer you can look at. I've also researched the code proposed changes, and I can talk with you about that. Public comment for that is due on Monday. So just talk to me after the meeting if you're interested in that. I think that's all I have to say. So now I'll pass it over to Jake, who is going to be talking about a different proposed code amendment.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Hello, good evening. I'm Jake Seastrand, and I was recently elected as your vice chair of the Capitol Hill Council. I also am a chair member with Samuel here in the TIP committee, which we get a lot of when the city has proposals for any kind of infrastructure or planning that gets fielded to us. And so we are your representatives on the council for any type of planning, infrastructure, transportation issues. If you have questions, I'm happy to give you my email. I have hours set up that we can chat, that I could be your voice, you know, on the council that gets that to the city. So that's our role, and that's why we're here. So getting to what we wanted to talk about is the city has sent over several proposals recently. Samuel mentioned the landscape one, that we have links for that. We'll send out an email that has all that information to those that are subscribed to our emails. So we do encourage you to also, that's a plug for signing up and getting those emails from the Capitol Hill Neighborhood Council. This, all this information goes out with that. So we're going to talk about this one. This is a large sweeping proposal, and I'm glad that our councilman is here. I'm going to put him on the spot to answer any questions as the city representative that's present. We did invite members of the planning commission to be here. We also invited Brooke Olson. They are currently busy, and we understand, but we're going to try and get them in the next couple of meeting cycles to come and answer questions. But we're going to go over this really brief. It's a lot of jargon. We tried to simplify it, but we want you to be informed. The goal tonight is to show you the proposal so you know what the city is wanting to do and how it'll affect you, and then hopefully have a vote on it at the end, see how our residents feel. We just want feedback. So going over this, disclaimer, we're just we're the conduit of information. We don't have an official position, but basically from your feedback, we will form our position as an informed council. And so that's our disclaimer to you. All right, so some of the proposed changes is that the city is wanting to change, they want to expand housing options, basically. So one of those changes is a flag lot. And what is that? It's an odd shaped lot that I'm sure as a resident of Salt Lake City, you either have a very wide lot with a single home on it or a long lot with a single home on it. So these type of lots, they want to promote infill and density expansion. So the city is changing the zoning regulation from a permitted use or from a conditional use to permitted. So it will automatically be allowed to have these changes. So they're looking to establish small lot dwellings. They want to reduce the minimum lot size from 5,000, which is the current standard, to 2,000, which opens up the opportunity for any homeowner, the average homeowner, to kind of expand their property and infill. So they're going to present up to 4 units may be allowed on the one lot. So that's quite a big change. If you think about the standard suburb, you have 1 home on 1 lot. Now the city will, you know, permit that you can have up to 4 based on your lot size. So yeah, that's what this will affect is the R1 zone and R2 zone. For anyone that doesn't really understand that, that is basically every home lot in the city. If it's not industrial or commercially zoned, then it is probably going to affect you. Yes, so click on this map. This is actually really informative. This comes from the city, so I encourage you to go look up your address and see how it changes, but it just gives you an idea of how many properties this will actually change. In the Capitol Hill community area, it's a large chunk of our neighbors. The zoning will change. And so it's anything that's amber or yellow or orange colored will be affected by this zoning change. So you can go on that website and put in your address and see if it affects you, but it will. That's most everybody. So here's what a flag lot is. I mentioned it briefly. here's a drawing of a typical home, just to get a standard home. But these flag lots, they look like a flag. So you got the driveway that extends beyond the single family home here and extends to the back. And you've got that flagpole style look with the flag in the back. So that's what a flag lot home is.
The right-hand lot, could the home be built on that as well?
So this is what this is what the city's proposing with the change in zoning, that this would become a permitted use. It would already be approved.
So, but I see the right side, looks like it's the same size lot.
Yeah, so that's one lot, and then they're allowing for people to develop, or homeowners to develop that back part of their lot to develop. I don't know if I'm answering the question, but
Well, like that, there's already a separate lot that's bounded by the purple line. So there are 3 lots we're looking at there, or just 2?
So okay, I see what you're saying. So it's one lot, and then you want to be able to create more, yeah, within your own
So
permitted
both
space.
neighbors could do the same thing, create that flag lot.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Exactly. So right now it's a conditional use. You have to go apply and get a hearing, jump through those hoops, but now it'll just be permitted, which removes some of those barriers for people who want to develop their property. I'm gonna try and jump through these really quick, but here's some explanation. So what I think the city's trying to address, and this is just my own opinion, and I would like this at the end, Chris can expound on this for us, but it's addressing this problem that Salt Lake City is having where we have a density issue with these missing middle type housing projects. So we're talking like duplexes, triplexes, townhouses, ADUs. So I do believe that this will help address that issue, so that we can see more families have opportunities to own property, develop to have a home here in Salt Lake. The policy impact, here's some of the things that it protects, as well as some of the opportunities that we've identified from the proposal. I did mention the increased density. I do believe that would be a good thing. There are, we can go into your concerns about that later, but I do think that this proposal does provide opportunity for us as a city. And you're welcome to kind of look at this table. The one thing that I'm happy about is it does protect the historic nature of our neighborhood. There are written items in that code that the historic commission still has authority to oversee any type of permitted change. So the historic nature of our neighborhood necessarily wouldn't change. You'd still have to go through that normal process. But it's an opportunity for to increase the density. All right, so here's basically what it is currently, and a table showing on this far right what the proposed change would be. Just to break it down, going mostly from single family homes, one home on one lot, to up to 4 units proposed. So according to the proposal, it sounds like up to 400% increase in infill potential with the proposed policy change, which is a lot of potential to see growth and change with. And next one. Some of the challenges that I think we can all discuss, and if anyone has comments about these, I'd love to hear them. But all neighborhoods face infrastructure issues. Can our sewers and utility lines handle such an increase in density opportunities for people? And how would the city mitigate that as a neighborhood? What would be the protections the city would provide to replace these aging lines if we did have that kind of increase in density? There is a clause in there about the short-term rental ban. This is one that I wanted to bring up because I feel like it affects maybe some people. It does explicitly ban these new developments from being short-term rentals, aka Airbnbs, or vacation rental homes, which I think does help keep homes here for local people that want to live here and develop roots here. So there's that. And then the historic preservation, how will we protect our unique character as a neighborhood with this proposal? And flag lot changes, how will this affect heavily graded areas? Capitol Hill is known for its steep terrain, 15% incline, grade changes up to. How would this change that graded area? How would this affect the homes up here? And then these are some important facts. I think the big thing that we're talking about with parking is the parking requirement was within the same, which I think is, and it's just not happening overnight. There's engagement ongoing. So why we wanted to present this tonight is to give all the residents an opportunity to voice their opinion, to review the change and provide feedback to the city. It's open until the 31st. As a council, we need to respond to the city before the 10th. So we wanted to present this to you today so that we could get your feedback before that deadline for us, but the public input as an individual will remain open. All right, and here's all those links for you. I did include the open houses for this proposal. As a neighborhood, we were invited to the East Side Community Open House at Highland High, but I believe we are all welcome to go to any of these at this convenient. And then this QR code will take you to that website, the shape.slc, on how you can submit your personal feedback about it. We already talked about the Temple Square closure. We're going to touch on that, but we already did. And then these dates here at the bottom is the Capitol Hill plan meetings. We do encourage you to go. That's a generational change. This will affect residents of Salt Lake City beyond my lifetime. So I believe that this is important if you want to weigh in on how you see the neighborhood. You need to go. The next one coming up is Lee's Market, just on 4th West. That'll be at 5 p.m. And then go ahead to the next slide. Okay, this is where I want feedback because we kind of went through it, but is there any concerns off the bat that anyone has about this proposal? It's pretty straightforward. It's a zoning change. And I would also invite Chris Ford to chime in as well if he has anything to add. So.
Actually, work.
So I have really mixed feelings because a lot of what I think we're trying to accomplish with this is really well intended, and in a lot of ways it's kind of replicating in other areas of the cities what has been the reality in this neighborhood and the avenues for a long time. I mean, you'd be shocked at the number of single family homes in our neighborhood and in the avenues that have a full-on single family home in the backyard already. That and having walked these streets many, many times and looked for many an address, there are more than you think. And I think that's a good thing because it proves that like you can do this and it can work. But it's a big difference if everybody does it versus if we have them here and there and it's kind of like naturally growing versus everything happening all at once. And that's kind of what I am worried about is that what we have right now kind of occurred more organically. And we have this, plus we have several other big zoning changes that we've just passed in the past couple of years that we really haven't. I mean, it takes, I would say, a minimum 5 years to even really know whether a zoning change is doing what you want or not. And we just keep passing them without really knowing, other than like a couple examples here and there. And I just think that's not the best way. But I also understand that we do have to kind of do things different than we've done them before because the housing crisis isn't going away. So that's why I'm kind of caught in between. My preference would be to wait or to do, some of these things, and kind of while we're waiting to see the other things come through, see how that goes. But we have people on the council that are very eager to move forward The other big concern that I have about this is corporate home ownership. So in Utah, we don't really know exactly how many, and it depends on how you define corporate. Like, are we talking about a small, let's say mom and pop that own like 3 properties or 4 properties around the city, and they live in one and they rent the other 3, and they have an LLC. Is that the kind of corporate ownership? I mean, maybe, but also we have single family homes that are bought up by companies and either rented out or flipped and sold. And we don't know exactly how many they are, like I said, but we know the number in Utah is very high. And it's already hard enough for, let's say, a family that's trying to buy their home for their first time to be competing against other families making offers on those homes in this environment. But to have a corporation then be competing with them as well is, I feel, really unfair, because a corporation is going to have a lot more that they can leverage to buy out the families. And if they know that they can buy a lot and build another house behind it and have extra profit, even more profit, then I feel like there's even more incentive for them to buy up whole neighborhoods or whole streets. And I don't think anybody wants that. Even the people that are proponents of this don't want that. But it's kind of like, once the gate is open, what are you gonna do? And where we don't have, there was a proposed bill in the legislature that would have made it easier to start to understand exactly how many of these lots are owned by corporations. And of course that didn't pass. And it's already dead. But I just think this is a really big floodgate to open without knowing how it's gonna go. So that's what I've said on it. That's what I'm gonna continue to say on it. But I will also say that I am open to some of the things that are being talked about in here. We do have a lot of existing flag lots, I'll say. So, when we have these big blocks that we have, not so much in our neighborhood, but more in Central City, there are a lot of like blocks where there's a property that's in the middle that's basically undevelopable, or it costs a lot more to do because they have to go through the
that hearing, like that.
Yes, anyway, yeah, the process, the permitting process. So, I would like to be able to move quicker on those. But so like that's an example of an area where I think we could move forward, see how that's going. I think we would learn a lot from that before we start turning backyards into other lots. So the other thing I really want to stress is that even though we put that map up and the map's very impactful and with how much is on there, what I've asked our planners to do is tell us how many properties they realistically think this would actually impact, because that's just sorted by zone. But when you look at the details, like the house has to be a minimum of 2,000 square feet. And then there are still some setbacks. It's less setbacks than what we have now. But when you actually look at, if you have to have the home that a minimum size and you have these setbacks, like how many of these could actually be built in these lots? And I think that's really important to know. Because if the answer is that most of this yellow area is not actually gonna work, that's a whole different conversation. Especially if we're saying, which is what's in this, that they have to have parking. Like you can't just rely, if you have a unit, for example, if you have a house with on-street parking and you build one of these, you build a flag lot, you cannot use the on-street parking for the backyard lot.
One or two spaces.
It's one. But yeah, so but I think that also creates, if you have to also plan for at least one parking spot, that's going to impact the buildable area as well. So those are my thoughts.
Thanks. Yeah, Chris. Any other questions while we have like a minute or so? No, go ahead.
I just haven't, no one else does.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we're trading off a housing shortage issue for a livability issue. Of course, the previous presentation was about not having enough water in our state. And we start, well, that's just a big thing I'm raising it for, but what the proposal here does sort of suggest that livability issue, particularly, will be enough water here to support 20, 30,000, 50,000 people downtown area. 20 to 30 years. That's something that I guess I'm thinking about that, right? So
Yes.
with that price of later,
So our water use maps and modeling go 80 years into the future. So we are looking at those things, but
the future isn't like the past.
correct. So, and we do everything we can to try to account for all the many variables that could come up. The good news is that, and I'm glad that we had the water presentation today too, because even though we have more people just in the downtown, we have 10,000 more people in the last 5 years, but we're using less water every year as a city because infrastructure improvements that are upgrading old infrastructure, because we have more high energy and better use appliances. All of these things are making a big difference. And that's why in just last year, Salt Lake City alone was able to add 18,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of water to the Great Salt Lake. Now, sounds like a lot. It's not enough for us alone to restore it, but that just goes to show like how good we're getting at being water efficient. And some of the bills mentioned would require some of the worst systems that are sometimes run by municipalities, not us, but other lesser municipalities that are not able to, or that are not contributing that to the system, and that's what we need them to do. So the answer is yes, and we're looking at that.
Good question. Great. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Well, that was it for the evening for the agenda. I want to thank you all. I do want to remind you to check out the new business featured in Marmalade's, it's technically Guadalupe.
Yeah.
So we want to put a plug to them. They're here, and I recommend you check it out. Check at that map and talk to the owner, Becca. She's right there, still here.
Yeah, so if you have any other questions or comments, we'll close and put the chairs away and meet and greet for the last 15 minutes of elaborating of it.
Good meeting, thanks.
Maybe the first meeting I've attended that we've landed almost on time.
Good.